So the reason why you're taking the time to watch this video and learn about closing costs is because you don't want to be that person at the end of your house buying journey, searching for upwards of $40,000 to take care of these unforeseen costs. You can make them very, very seen, and that's what we're going to do in this video, just so that you don't end up with a very bad experience. Let's go.
With the rising costs of housing in the GTA, the last thing any prospective buyer wants to find is unexpected fees when closing on a new home.
It's not that easy to go and beg people for money, you know. For 1 day delay on the closing, they will charge us $5,000.
But that's exactly what's happening for those who have moved in here,
I don't even like to live in this place anymore. I'm broke.
leaving many of them scrambling to find answers and potentially more money.
So very quickly, closing costs are the costs that you pay to close your house. So you're paying professionals for their services, and you're also paying governments for their services to make sure that your house is what it was advertised for, and also to take care of certain government expenses that they will use to welcome you when you decide to become a home owner. So the first one is a pre-closing cost, still a closing cost, so please take it very seriously, and it is your deposit. When you put in an offer for a house, you're not just going to put in an offer with paper only, because no one's going to take that very seriously. As a seller, I won't take that seriously. When you put in an offer for a house, you're also submitting a check or a sum of money called a deposit. And the reason why you're submitting a deposit is to make sure that the seller understands how serious you are about buying that house, and also to convince the seller to disregard other options that they have on the table. Number two, if you miss this one, you've missed your entire house. You've missed a lot of things that you should not miss. Don't take this for granted. Lawyer fees. You're paying a lawyer about $500 to $1,000 and $1,500 and above, just so that they help walk you through the legal sides of buying your house. You do not want to buy a house without a lawyer holding your hand every single time. Not some of the time, not when you feel like it. Every single time you need a lawyer to hold your hand while you're buying this house. I'll give you a couple of examples of things that they'll do for you. First off, they're going to check that you're buying the house from the actual owner of the house. There's a lot of title fraud, there's a lot of fraud out there, and you do not want to go through all the stress, putting together a deposit, learning about mortgages, watching all my videos, doing a lot of research, putting yourself together just to give all that money and all that hard work over to someone that you don't even know. Another important thing that they're going to do for you is that they're going to answer any questions that you have regarding any agreement that you're signing, because they are the experts. They know the language more than anyone. In fact, they created that language. So if there's anything you don't understand, it's very important to get the clarity that you need before you put pen to paper and commit to something. It's almost a cardinal sin that the universe will punish somebody for if they sign something that they do not understand. And finally, even though lawyers do a lot more, when you applied for that mortgage, for that $400,000 mortgage, the bank isn't going to send that money to your account. No, the bank is going to send that money to your lawyer's trust account. The lawyer is going to hold that money for you on your behalf, and the lawyer is going to transfer that money from their account to the seller's account when it's time to get your keys. So very, very, very important. Have a lawyer in tow. Budget about $500 to $1,500. If you don't have a lawyer, reach out to me. I will recommend the ones that I use personally so that you get the best tip-top, as usual, quality service as possible. Let's move on to number three. And number three is the one that really blindsides people the most, because it's tied into so many other things that I've spoken about in this playlist, in this series of videos. And it's called appraisal fees. We just came out of a seller's market where people are placing orders on homes sight unseen. You've seen a picture of what's outside of the house and maybe some of what's inside the house, and you just put $1 million offer, good to go. Here's what can happen if you do that. Because the bank is the one giving you the money, they are not going to buy a house that is overvalued. They're going to send in someone called an appraiser who will go and look at the parameters of the house, see whether it is of market value, and submit that report back to the bank. The bank is going to take a look at that report and say, this $500,000 house that you want to buy, it's worth about $550,000. So yes, we can give you that mortgage because you are paying below, or at very worst case, at market price. The other thing that can happen, you want to buy a $500,000 house and you put in a $750,000 offer, and the appraiser comes back to the bank saying that the house is worth only $550, the bank isn't going to give you more money. Sometimes the bank might eventually pull out of that offer scenario and say, we're not giving you a mortgage anymore. So that's what an appraiser does. An appraiser works for the bank, not for you. In fact, you will never see that report. But guess what? Because the bank is giving you $400,000, they're going to make you pay for that appraisal. You're going to be spending about $300, $400. I think the highest I've seen is $750 for an appraisal to get done. So please watch my videos, watch this playlist. It will help you avoid any of these issues and get to this appraisal section of your house hunting journey in one piece and leave on to the other points, which is number 4, your home inspection fee. Normally you are budgeting about the same amount as an appraisal, because a home inspector is going to be the one to go into the house, and this person works for you now. They're going to look at the electrical wiring, for example, make sure that it's not from 1973 or 1934. So just making sure that your house is safe for occupancy. So they're looking at your electrical, they're looking at the basement to make sure it's not flooded, they're looking at the structure of the house. If you've ordered a structural home inspection where they're looking at deeper things than meets the eye. So basically a home inspector is just going to go in to make sure that your house is as advertised. Everything that will make sure that you enjoy that house is what a home inspector is going to check for you. So do not skip this step. Do not be one of those people that are buying houses sight unseen. Let's move on to the next guy. Yes, this one is my favorite. So when you buy a house, you're going to be paying land transfer tax, aka welcome tax. The reason why it's called a welcome tax is because the municipality that you're buying the house in is going to stretch out their hand and ask you for some money because, well, you just moved into the area and you're using the land that they apportioned to you. It seems unfair, but they're actually using that money to take care of the surroundings that your land is located on. So every time you buy a house, most of the time, if not all the time, you're going to be paying land transfer tax. Now, I can't give you an exact figure because land transfer tax is tied to the value of the house. And if you want to know more about land transfer tax, I've left you a link in the description, just so you can keep yourself informed. Moving on. Speaking of taxes, there's also property tax. I know we just spoke about land transfer tax and now we're talking about property tax. Taxes are everywhere. Anytime you want to buy anything, somebody's stretching out their hands to collect their taxes. Property tax is, like the name says, the tax on the property. Once again, they're taking this tax from you, usually month to month or in a bulk sum throughout the year to take care of your surroundings once again. So there's property tax and there is land transfer tax. Land transfer tax is the tax that you pay. It's a one-time payment to take control of the land. And property tax is a continuous payment that you continue to pay till you die so that your municipality or your government that is in charge of your area can continue to maintain the services of your area. Your property taxes normally go towards things like your garbage, your parks, your recreational facilities, things that make your town your town. Property tax, it's not fun, but you have to pay it. And the reason why it's a closing cost is that if you're buying a house that the owner has already paid a whole year's full of property tax, you're going to find yourself in a situation where the owner is going to ask you for the balance of what has been paid. So for example, if the owner has paid from January to December and you're buying the house in February, you are going to have to pay the owner the rest of the money from March to December. So don't get caught off guard. Let's move on to the next one. You're in Ontario and you forgot that you're going to pay HST. Well, not on all houses. You pay HST on, see it as paying HST on new things. So if you buy something from the supermarket, you're paying 13% HST. If you buy a phone, you're paying 13% HST. If you breathe in Ontario, you're paying 13% HST. Same thing with your house. If you're buying a new house, you're going to be paying 13% HST. Or if you're buying a house that has been significantly refurbished, like it's almost new, then you're also going to be paying 13% HST. Now, with the property tax, land transfer tax, and even HST, make sure you check the link in the description. You can get rebates if you meet the criteria, meaning that you can get some or all of your money back if you meet the criteria. Link is in the description. Let's move on. Yes, property insurance is the next. Your bank is not going to give you money if an insurance company cannot insure your house. So this is a warning to all those people that like to refurbish houses and think they're going to get a mortgage. Think of it very carefully. Would you want to give someone money to buy a house that's going to crumble in the next couple days, next couple years? No, and it's the same stance with the bank. So remember, you're going to be paying an insurance company to evaluate your house, evaluate your surroundings, and make sure that you can actually get that house insured. And once they give you the A-OK that your house can be insured, then you stretch out your wallet and ask them to take all the money inside. It's not that expensive. It's a couple hundreds of dollars. You'll be fine. But make sure you understand that you're going to have to get insurance, property insurance, before you take possession of your house. So you've bought this house and now you need people to plug in your electricity, your water, your internet. All those costs are also moving costs, because it doesn't make sense for you to move into a house without all these utilities. And which is why we're talking about utility connection costs. Make sure you have that budgeted. You can always call the facility or the company beforehand to gather your exact costs. Ideally, you're looking at around $500 to $1,000. Please check with your service providers to make sure that you have the exact amount of money that is going to cost to connect your utilities. So you don't wake up in the morning thinking why the shower is not running and going to work with a little bit of, birthday odor. I don't know. Let's move on. And finally, speaking of moving on, don't forget your moving fees. If you're not moving with all your furniture and all your personal belongings, that's fine. Move in and buy all those things. You don't need to pay a moving company to do any of these things. But ideally, if you're moving from one place to another, maybe you just left a rented apartment and you bought your house, congratulations to you. If you're watching this video, you're going to need to budget for a moving company, unless you have the ability, well, like me, to rent a truck and move things by yourself. Anyways, even the renting of the truck is going to cost you money. So always budget for moving your things. And keep in mind, it might seem like a small thing, but some landlords and some people in other places, if you're renting, give you a very strict timeline to move all your things out of the house so that they can bring in the next person. You do not want to incur any fees or get into any trouble with your landlord just because you couldn't find a moving company, or you didn't find a moving company way ahead of time before that moving time expires. Now, as a reminder, most banks will not give you a mortgage if they don't see that you have your closing costs available and in hand, ready to go. It is a deal breaker for a lot of people. On the flip side, a lot of banks will give you a rebate. They will give you some money, so to speak, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Check with your bank, just so that you can get a mortgage from them, and that money is going to be put towards your closing costs. So weigh your options. Make sure your mortgage broker is looking for the best for you. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. My name is Macaulay. All the resources that you need are in the description. And if you're ready to buy, sell, rent, or invest, let me know. See you in the next video. Bye, guys.